We're up to chapter 22, verse 6 of Parshas Balak, where Balak ben Zippor went to Bilam, and he sent messengers asking Bilam to curse the Jewish people. So chapter 22, verse 6. So he states, Go now, curse for me this people, because they are stronger than me. Maybe I'll be able to strike him down, and kick him out of the land. You are. I know, Balak says to Bilam, I know that whatever you bless will be blessed, and whatever you curse will be cursed. He says, please come and curse these people for me. Rashi says, perhaps I will succeed and we will strike it. Rashi says, I and my people will strike them. Alternatively, that the word nakeh is a reference to the word in the Mishnah that means I'll cause a deduction. And basically, why do they want Bilam? Because Rashi says, Kiadati, that Balak was saying, I know through the war of Sichon that you assisted him to strike Moab. In verse 7, Steve was asking, do they have weapons in the Torah? This is their weapon. They had charms in their hand. Ultimately, it's about the charms. Hello, Kobe. Good afternoon, my dear friend. And they came to Bilam, and they spoke the words of Balak to him. Rashi says, what are their charms? Kol minei ksamim, different types of charms. Why? So that Bilam could not say, listen, I don't have my materials with me. They want to take away his excuse. The elders of Midian took this charm in their hand and they said, if he'll come with us this time, it's a proof that he has some substance. But if he'll push us off, then we'll have nothing with him. And so therefore, when he says spend the night here, they said there's no hope in him. So they left him and went off. But the elders of Midian, so the officers of Moab stayed with Balaam, and the elders of Midian left. Look at verse 8. Vayomer Alehem, Bilam said to them, Linu po alayla, because they wanted Bilam to go and curse the Jewish people. So they said to him, so he says to them, sleep here tonight. Rashivosi eslam davar, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Kacheri daber Hashem elai, my God will speak to me. Vayishvu sarei Moab and Bilam. And the elders, the prince of Moab, stayed with Bilam. This is a very important source for Rambam. Rambam argues that this is proof. Well, Rashi also says it here. Why couldn't he speak to them right then? Why do they have to stay the night? So it says, Ein Ruach HaKodesh Sharav El B'Layla, because Bilam could only prophesy at night. So he had to wait till nightfall to see what God would tell him. And so too for all the prophets of the nations of the world, they can only have a prophecy in a dream at night. And Rashi cites Lavan had a prophecy in a dream at night. As it says, God came to Lavan in the dream at night. Like a man who goes to his concubine secretly. That's how God gave the prophecy to the nations of the world. God came to them secretly, only at night. Whereas the Jewish prophets were able to prophesy during the day. That's what Rashi is saying. I'll only be able to say what God will speak to me. If God will tell me to go with people like you, I'll go. But maybe God won't let me go with you except for officers who are greater than you. So the officers of Moab stayed, but the elders of Midian left. Verse 9. By the way, there's a whole major question in reading this passage, the major question is, and maybe we discussed this, Ben, in the past, is Bilam a good guy or a bad guy? That's the major question. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Kai? Bilam. So the story is that Balak, the king of Moab, wants to curse the Jewish people. So he wants to hire the prophet Bilam to curse the Jewish people. So the question is Bilam a good person or a bad person? Is he tzaddik or Rasha? Maybe. The text is ambiguous. You'll see when you read the whole text, there's arguments in support and against. So Vayavo Elokim El Bilam. So God said to Bilam, "Oh boys, how we doing? Grab a seat. Long time no see. God comes to Bilam and he says, Mi'an Hashem ha'elohimach, who are these people with you? Rashi says, why is God asking him this question? God knows who these people are. So Tosoba, God was trying to give Bilam enough space to, so to speak, make a mistake. He said, Pa'amim she'ena kol goy lefanav. So Bilam said, oh, God doesn't know. Not everything is revealed. Ein dato shavolav. His mind is not equal upon him. So now I'll see the time where I'll be able to curse the Jewish people and God will not understand. And this is clearly, Jeff, that Rashi is reading this, that Bilam is a bad guy. That Bilam is saying, oh, I'm looking for the moment where God is not up on his game, where I can curse the Jewish people. So even though the verse at first glance seems like Bilam is acting and, just appropriately, Rashi reads it, and this is the rabbinic approach, as Bilam as being a bad guy. So God says to him, who are these people? And Bilam says, Vayomer Bilam El Elokim. Bilam says to God, excuse me. Bilam says to God, Balak ben Tzipor Melch Moab Shalach Elai. Balak, the son of Tzipor, the king of Moab, sent them to me. And Rashi reads this as saying that Bilam is saying to God, even though in your eyes I'm nothing, I am distinguished be'enei malachim. Even though in your eyes I'm not distinguished, in the eyes of kings, they value me, they honor me. So that's how Rashi reads it.
Who says that? Other translation says sent.
Sent them to me. Sent to me.
There's two different. I don't know how you.
Shalach sent Eli to me. Sent to me. But it basically means the same thing. And what did he say? He said, behold, this people are Yotzei Mitzrayim that left Egypt. But by the way, it's interesting. We had this passage in the Baba Basra in the Daf Yomi last week on 14b. It stated that who wrote the different passages of the Bible, and it says that Moshe wrote his book and the book of Bilam and the passage of Bilam, which makes it imply that this was not necessary. I mean, the Gemara is seeming to imply that we might have thought that Moshe didn't write this because Moshe is not part of this at all. Here's another Chumash, Greg, right there. Because how would Moshe know any of this? He's not a main character in this story. In this particular story. Follow that? So then so it says, verse 11, the people left Egypt, they're covering over the eye of the land. So now go and curse it for me. Maybe I'll be able to wage war and kick him out. Basically, Bilam is saying to God what Balak said to him. Bilam is saying to God these people sent me this message that this people left Egypt. I don't know who they are. They're covering over the land, and now they want me to curse them so they could defeat them in battle. Basically, I'm ready to be a mercenary. I'm ready to be like the hired gun, to be a prophet for hire to curse these people. So look at Rashi makes an interesting point, because Jeff said, oh, Bilam seems like a good guy. But Rashi points out that he wasn't, because he says, maybe I'll be able to wage war and drive him away. Rashi says, min olam. Rashi says, Balak said, I will drive it away from the land. But Bilam omitted the words from the land, meaning to say, Bilam saying, I want to that Balak was just asking to get rid of the Jews from his land. But Bilam was saying, drop the land. And he's saying that he wants me to get rid of them completely, meaning to say that Balak was asking for something less and Bilam wanted to give him more. And this, Rashi says, proves that Bilam hated the Jewish people more than Balak did, because he left out that key point. You follow that, Jeff?
Is this why the rabbis say that Lavan bikesh la'akor et hakol, that Bilam is his spiritual descendant?
I mean, maybe we could draw that connection. It's a nice connection that Rabbi Yosef is pointing out. Okay, so very nice, Rabbi Yosef. So now the next verse says, verse 12, Vayomer Elokim El Bilam Lo Telechi Mahem Lo Ta'or Ta'am Ki Baruchu. And God says to Bilam, don't go with them, don't curse the people, because he is blessed. Now, right then, Bilam should have dropped the topic. God told him the answer. Can you pass the tissues out there? He's saying, I just need one. Here, you can put it back there. So right then, Bilam should have dropped the topic if he was really a good guy, because God gave him a very specific answer. He said, don't go with them, don't curse the people, because these people are blessed. Rashi says, don't go with them. Bilam said to him, Rashi reads this as Bilam being even worse, said, okay, I can't go with them to curse. Okay, I'll stay where I am and curse them. So God said, no, don't curse them. So Bilam says, okay, I'll bless them. So God, this is the phrase. Bilam says, they don't need your blessing. It is already blessed. It's a parable. We say to the bee, Rashi says a wasp, but really a bee, we don't want your honey and we don't want your sting. We don't want either one. Leave me away from your honey, leave me away from your sting. I don't want anything to do with you.
Well, at least literally it says, oh God, this is God's message. It's just having difficult to reconcile what we're reading here with what she's telling us. Because this, God says, but don't, but keep, do what I said. You can go with them, but only the matter that I will speak to you shall you do it.
No. First, we're not up to that verse yet. Verse 12, God just says, don't go with them.
Okay, then you see, right.
But then Bilam should have dropped it then. He shouldn't have continued to press. That's an indication of Bilam really wanted to curse them. And it's a principle in the Torah that if we want to sin, we have the ability, we have free choice. God is going to let us sin. Shoshana had a question.
It's not clear to me that Bilam is saying to God, I want more chance to do this. They keep sending people to Bilam. What's he supposed to do? I mean, he could draw the curtains and say, oh my
He said, yeah, God said no.
It's not him who's asking for more delegations. It's Prince is sending more delegations.
Yeah, but he
For the head of
he could just say no. as Nancy says, just say no.
He said no,
No?
Right, but you have to say, and God told him, say no.
and he did.
But then he kept asking.
He says yes.
He's gonna ask again, you'll see. Verse 13. But verse 13, Vayakim Bilam Baboker. Bilam got up in the morning. Vayomer al Sarei Balak. He says to the officers of Balak, go back to your land. God's not letting me go with you. Rashi says, God's not letting me go with you. You. Rashi says, but if they would be greater than you, then I could go. We see that Bilam was very arrogant, and he didn't want to reveal that he was under the authority of God, except in pompous language. He said, oh, God says I can't go with you. It didn't say God said, God actually didn't say that. God said, don't go. But Bilam tries to make himself look bigger.
Translation here says, God said to Bilam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse people. So it's not that you shouldn't go. God.
But then God
says
says,
that you shall not go with them.
and then God says, do not curse the people. That's with anyone. With anyone, presumably. Well,
I'm not sure that Bilam did anything wrong.
what?
I'm not sure at this point that Bilam has done anything
Well,
wrong.
now we say, Vayosef od Balak shaloch sarim rabim v'nechpadim mi'ela. So Balak continued, and now he sent more prestigious
More princes?
Yeah. And that's why Rashi reads the two verses together, because he's saying, why would he send better princes? Because he reads it as Bilam saying, I can't go with you because your princes are not prestigious enough for me. So therefore, he has to send more prestigious princes. That's how Rashi reads it. Vayavo Bilam, and they came to Bilam, Vayomeru, and they said to him, Koamar Balak ben Sipor. This is what Balak ben Sipor said. Al na timana me'alochalai. Do not refrain from going to me. Ki chabeda chabed chamod. I'll give you a lot of honor. Kosher tomorrow I said, whatever you say to me, I'll do. L'chana kavoli etam. Go now, curse this people. Vayam Bilam vayomer avdei Balak. And Bilam answered, he said to the servants of Balak, Imitenli Balak mero beito. Kesef v'zahav v'ochal avoros pi Hashem elokai lasos ketana u'gedola. He says, even if Balak would give me a house full of gold and silver, I would not be able to violate the word of God, either small or great. So Rashi says here that Bilam was greedy because nobody had mentioned giving him gold and silver, and he brings it up. This is how Rashi reads it. We learn from here that he was very greedy. Desired their money. He said, listen, Balak should really give me all the money and all the silver, because he otherwise would have to hire many armies. You have to pay the mercenaries. It's very expensive. And then you're not sure if you're going to win or not. But me, I'll for sure be victorious. So I should be paid what the armies are being paid.
So in other words, he's raising it as a hypothetical of something he would never do, but it's like, I would never take
But
that.
that's what I'm worth.
Sounds like Ephraim.
Yeah, a little bit. And then he says, I cannot violate God's will. So he's unwittingly prophesizing here that he can't cancel the blessings that God blessed Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then he says, verse 19, so this is a big weakness in those who want to defend Bilam. Why does he have to ask God again? God already gave him the answer. He says, stay here tonight, and I'll tell you tomorrow what God is saying to me. but he already had an answer from God. He's begging God to go and curse the Jewish people. Bilam is begging, but he should have been satisfied with the first answer, which was, I can't do it. Rashi says, Ma Yosef, lo yishaneh dvarav, mibracha l'kala, halavai shelo yosif levarech. He says, listen, God is not going to change his words from a blessing to a curse. I wish that he would not give them another blessing. And this is the future. In the future, Bilam is going to give the Jewish people multiple blessings. And now God comes to Bilam that night and he says, Vayomer, Bilam, God comes to Bilam Laila at night. Vayomer, when he says to him, if they came to call you, these men came, kum lechitam, go with them. But you're only going to say to them what I say to you. So why is God letting them go? So Rashi says, if the summoning is for your benefit and you're going to get paid, then you could go with them. But I promise you, against your will, the thing that I shall speak to you, that is what you shall do. And even then, Bilam went and he said, maybe I'll persuade God to allow me to curse Israel, and he'll agree. So Bilam is intending to try to curse the Jewish people, even though God said specifically you won't be able to. Now we have the next verse, which is so relevant. Vayakam Bilam baboker. Bilam got up early in the morning. What time did he get up? He understood the power of sunrise. That was the moment, the Gemara says, where that he understood. And that was the moment where God had a moment where he could get God to curse the Jewish people. But the Gemara in Sanhedrin uses this as an example. Rashi quotes this beautiful, very beautiful phrase. Vayakam Bilam baboker.
Turn right on 16th Street Northwest.
Vayachavosh et atono. And he saddled his donkey. Who else in the Torah up until now has saddled his donkey? Very good, Abraham. Vayelach Sarei Moab. And he walked with the princes of Moab. And Rashi says, we learn from here. Mikan, we learn from here. Shahasin'ah mekalkelet et hashura. Hatred breaks the line. Shechavash hu ba'atzmo. He himself saddled it. God said, Rasha. See, Rashi says, God says to Bilam, you wicked one. Kvar kademcha Avram avim. Abraham, their father, preceded you, as it says, Vayashkim Avram baboker v'yachavoshes chamoro. So the point is, love destroys the natural order of things, and so does hatred. These are the two powerful emotions that cause us to act in a manner that's not linear and in a manner that's not logical. Hatred and love are these two powerful emotions. Bilam and Avram both had servants. They shouldn't have been saddling their own donkey, but because of Bilam's hatred for the Jewish people, he saddled it himself. Avram, because of his love for God, he saddled it himself. So this
The
is
modern
further
expression
evidence.
is all is
This
fair
is
in love
further
and war.
evidence in Rashi's mind that Bilam was wicked. Yes, Rabbi Yosef?
The modern expression is all is fair in love and war. So it's exactly,
I don't think it's the same thing.
sorry.
No, I mean, it's a nice expression, but that means that I think that expression means like if you're fighting a war, don't expect the other person to obey the rules. But here it's meaning, I think it means here that a person who is in love or a person who is consumed by hatred will act in a manner that's beyond the way they typically act in order out of their passion. It'll cause somebody to act out of passion and not necessarily out of logic and break up the natural order. That's what I think is going on. Before we stop, Ben, would you like to add anything?
No.
Anybody want to add anything before we stop? All right, so we'll stop here to daven mincha at this time. Yasher koach.
Thank you.